Guys, is the screen clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then let's begin. How are you guys? And both of you.
Fine, sir.
Fine, sir. How are you?
How are you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you. Yes, Siddharth, you were asking something?
Oh, sir, I asked, how are you as well?
Good, man. I'm good. Now, okay, so last class, I had just mentioned what condition probability is. I'll just tell you again what it is. Probability of A given B. Okay, so this part I should have mentioned first itself. Probability of A given B. So an event A happens, given that B happened, would be given by probability of A intersection B divided by probability of B. Is this part clear to both of you? Like all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is conditional probability. Now, Bayes, what did we do? Bayes theorem. I said that P of A given B or AI given B. Suppose B happens through many roots. A1, A2, A3, A4, apply A. So here, what do I do here? Probability of B given AI is something I have. So multiply by probability of AI divided by probability of
B by A1 into A1 plus B by A2
correct into probability of A2
and then
and
so
so
on.
on. What is this basically? All of this? This is nothing but probability of A1, A2, basically probability of AI happening. Okay, this is that. Okay,
All the events, sir.
all AIs, yes, correct. All of them. Probability of A to occur, something like that. Okay. So this is basically what this is. Okay. Not probability of AI in general, not this one. So all AIs. Okay. All AIs. Yeah, good thing you clarified that. Now, any doubts here so far?
No, sir.
Okay. I'll give one small question. Try doing that. A signal, write the question down, can be green or red. Can be green or red. With probability 1 by 5 and 4 by 5 respectively. A signal can be green or red with probability 1 by 5 and 4 by 5 respectively. This signal is received by station A. There is a station A that receives the signal and then transmitted to station B. So the signal is received by station A and transmitted to station B. Probability that each station receives the signal correctly is 3 by 4. Probability that each station receives the signal correctly, okay, receives signal correctly, is 3 by 4. Then, if the signal received at station B is green, if the signal received at station B is green, then find the probability that the original signal was green. Right? If the signal received at station B is green, find the probability that the original signal was green. So first thing, we draw the process tree, right? So I'll start from somewhere. It's like an algorithm. So I start from somewhere, and then I know that I can send either a red signal or a green signal with what probabilities? Red is 4 by 5, green is 1 by 5. Okay. So it can be red with 4 by 5 probability and green with 1 by 5 probability. And then what happens? This red signal will be received by station A first as red, or it can be received as green, right? How many ways can this happen? So it receives it correctly with 3/4 probability. So that's the idea. So this is 3/4. So if the signal was red, the station A will receive it with 3/4 probability as red, and will receive it as green with 1/4 probability. Then, if it was green and it's going to A, it can receive it as red or green, right? With what probabilities? With green as
1/4 and 3/4.
1/4 here, correct, thank you. And 3/4 here. Alright, I almost wrote 3/4 here. Okay. So now, what do we do here? We continue this process because this signal has to go to station B. Okay, are you following, all of you? So it can be received as red or it can be received as green. So what about the station B? Both have 3/4 probability of receiving it correctly. So if it's red, it remains red 3/4. If it's green, it becomes green in 1/4 ways. Then red, green. It receives green from A as green in 3/4 ways, and here it will be in 1/4 ways. Next here, we'll receive it as red or green. It receives it as red in 1/4 ways and receives this as green in 3/4 ways. Sorry, receives this as red in 3/4 ways and receives this as green in 1/4 ways. Now, you can receive it as green in 3/4 ways and receive it as red in 1/4 ways. This is the entire process. Okay, are you following?
Yes,
All right.
sir.
Okay. Now, in our question, what is given? That the signal is
Probability
received as
that
green. Okay. Signal received by B is green, and we need to find the probability that. Actually, continue speaking, please. No problem.
okay, sir.
Yeah. What did you say? Probability that
No, I was just reading out the question, sir.
the original question. Yeah, that's what I'm asking you guys to do here. Like that's all. Same thing only. Okay. So you have to find that the probability that the original this thing was green. Okay, original signal itself was green. Okay, so we'll have to take all the parts that are green first. Okay, following? So from there, how many of them will have, how many of these parts will have the original signal as green? Are you following? Okay, so basically we are
Yes,
talking
sir.
about
Only two.
these two parts. Okay, from a total of 4 parts, right?
Four.
Because the final will be received as green. Remember, what's the probability that the original signal is green given that the final B receives it as green? Okay, so this is what you're taking care of, which means we are looking at the answer to be. So we'll draw we'll take care of the total probability. Okay, total probability will be 4/5 into 3/4 into 1/4, which is the probability of it being green when the original signal was red and A interprets it as red. Okay, plus 4/5 into 1/4 into 3/4. That is when the original signal is red. A interprets it as green and then B interprets it as green. Plus the next case. I don't need to mention what the next case is, right? 1/5 into 1/4 into 1/4 plus 1/5 into 3/4 into 3/4. You can see common denominator is 4 into 4 into 5, which is 80. And the numerators will be, I'll start from behind, 9 plus 1, which is 10, plus 12, which is 22, plus 12, which is 34. This is the total probability of B interpreting green. Okay. This part all of you know, right? Total probability of B interpreting green will be 34 by 80 because of this. We have exhausted all the possible cases here. Now what do? Now we find how many of these cases, okay, how many of these cases are having original signal as green. Okay, so this is how we find the probability of it being green given that it has finally been interpreted as green. Okay, station B interprets it as green, receives the signal as green. So here we find the last two ones. So they come up to 10 by 80. Okay, so what are we doing here? Probability of original being green given that B interprets it as green. Okay, so for this, what is the formula we'll be using? Probability of this B being green given that what original signal is green into probability that the original signal is green divided by total ways in which B can show green, right?
Yes, sir.
Total ways in which B can show green. So how do we show that? I'll just write it this way. Okay. So probability that B shows green given that we're getting green. So basically we're talking about this chain of events here. 1 by 4 into 3 by 4, 1 by 4 into 1 by 4. So there is an initial 1 by 5 here. Okay. Okay. Into 1 by 4 into 1 by 4. Plus 1 by 5 into 3 by 4 into 3 by 4. What does this come out to? 1 by 80 plus 9 by 80, which is 10 by 80. Divided by probability of it being green. We already found that out. The sum of all these parts. 34 by 80. So I get my final answer here. All right. Okay. All right. Got what we did here? We get, yeah, 10 by 34.
Yes.
5 by 17. Okay, guys, we take the correct chains and then put it there. All right. Like we'll discuss another
Yes,
question.
sir. Got it, sir.
Okay. Okay. So one second, this is a long question. Let me break it down. Okay, suppose you wake up one day, you feel sick, you go to the doctor, you run a barrage of tests. Okay. 1 week later, the results come by, and then so you're feeling sick, you go to the doctor, you feel something is wrong. You go there, 1 week later, you go for a test. Okay. So you test positive for a rare disease which affects 0.1% of the population. Okay. Please write the question down as I'm speaking it. You test positive for a disease. Okay, you test positive for a disease affecting 0.01% of total population. Then you see that, okay, there's a test that happened and you see that you've been tested positive for this disease. Now you go ask the doctor, what is the actual probability that I have the disease? Like now that I've been tested positive, what is the actual probability, certainty that I have the disease? So then the doctor tells you that the test correctly identifies 99% of people that have the disease, having the disease, and incorrectly identifies 1% of those who don't have the disease. All right. Incorrectly identifies 1% of those who don't have the disease. Okay. Now this sounds bad, right? Like it seems like you have the disease, right? Okay. The question is, what is the probability? What is the actual probability you have the disease? Okay. Okay. When you hear this, when the doctor tells you something like this, what will happen? You'll flip, right? You'll think you have the disease. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
But yeah, tell me what the probability is that you actually have the disease.
Sir, can you repeat the first line of the question?
It's a very long paragraph-like question. So the idea is
Sir,
this.
it's only the first lines, like in the 0.1% of total population.
Okay. So you're feeling sick, you go to a doctor. So the doctor runs a series of tests, and then you see that you have been tested. So 1 week later, you get the result. The result is you've been tested positive for a disease which affects 0.1% of the total population. Okay. Then you ask the doctor, how serious is this test? So then the doctor says, it correctly identifies 99% of those having the disease and incorrectly identifies 1% of those who do not have the disease. What is the probability you actually have the disease? Got it?
Yes.
So let's put H to be our prime hypothesis. Okay, so what I'm saying here, right, the terms I'm using is actually used in statistics much after your schooling also. All right, in college and all, after you're done with college, if you get a job related to stats and all, machine learning and all, you will learn this way. Okay, that is what will happen. So H is the hypothesis, which means H is the event that you have the disease. Okay, you have the disease. So H is the hypothesis. Understand? What is the probability you have the disease? That is what we're trying to find. Okay. So if you have any thought experiment, you'll say that okay, this is the hypothesis I have, and then you'll test it. Is it actually true or not? Okay. So H is the probability you have the disease. E is the event that you tested positive. Okay. E is the event you tested positive. Now, when I say probability of H, what is this? It's the prior probability you had before the test. Okay, prior probability, basically, test before the test. Basically, you know, like right now, if you are feeling healthy, what is the probability you have the disease? No, if you're feeling healthy or not, doesn't matter. Okay, what is the probability you have the disease, like without the test?
0.00001%.
0.001%. Okay, sorry, not 1%, 0.001. What is the probability you have the disease? Look, it's affecting 0.1% of the total population. Okay, so it's 1.01%, 0.1%, so it's 0.001. Okay, probability that the prior probability that you have the disease. Okay, before the test. Now, probability of E given H. Probability that you test positive given you have the disease. This you know. The doctor told you that, right? If you have the disease, okay, what is the probability you will be tested positive? That is 99%, right? So 0.99, right? Okay. Now, what are we trying to find here in the question? Probability of having the disease given you tested positive, right? This is our question. Are you understanding how we apply Bayes theorem? Where we, in what cases we apply Bayes theorem? All right. This is very
Yes.
counterintuitive. Yes, yes. Any doubts? Yes. You're asking?
No, sir. I just told yes, sir.
Okay. Now, so now what do we do, guys? We have to find probability of you having the disease given you tested positive. What is the probability? Probability. We use Bayes theorem here directly, guys. Probability of this given into the probability you have the disease divided by what, guys? Probability you can test positive, right? Probability you can possibly test positive. That's the idea here. So this comes out to probability of UNH into probability of H divided by probability you test positive. How many ways can that happen? Probability you have the disease into probability you test positive given you have the disease. Okay, plus probability you don't have the disease into probability you test positive given you don't have the disease. These are the possible ways you can test positive, right? That's the idea. Right? You can either have the disease and test positive, or you don't have the disease and then test positive. Guys, I hope you're listening very carefully, because at least in my mind, this is beautiful. All right. Okay, this theorem is just beautiful. Just try to understand as much as possible. Maybe you won't understand the whole thing right now, but practice like 5 or 6 problems at a time. The toughest ones you can find, previous year problems. Practice them, you'll get the hang of it. Okay. It's something you build over a period of time. It's not something we intuitively get. Right? Okay. So, probability of you having the disease given you tested positive. Did you understand where this formula came from?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, what is the probability you test positive given you have the disease? He said no, 99% of those having the disease are identified correctly. Okay. So, probability of you having the disease, probability of you testing positive given you have the disease is 0.99. 99% of those who have the disease are identified correctly, because that means 99% of them who have the disease will be tested positive. Okay, into probability of those of you having the disease. That is where your prior probability comes, no? So that will be 0.001. Okay, divide by probability you have the disease. Okay, 0.001 into 0.99 plus probability you don't have the disease will be 0.999 into probability you test positive given you don't have the disease. So what is the doctor say here? 1% of those who don't have the disease will be tested positive. That's incorrect ID. Okay, a false positive. All right. 1% of those who don't have the disease will be tested positive. Okay, 0.01. Okay, what does this come out to? 0.00099 divided by 0.00099 plus 0.00999. What do these things add up to? Write it as 99 divided by 99 plus 999. This becomes 1098 and this is 99. Both are divisible by 9, right? So this becomes 1, 2, 11 by 122, which is roughly 11 by 121, which is 1 by 11, which comes up to roughly 9%. Right? Are you following?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the actual probability you have the disease is actually much lower. It's 9% only. All right. You get this now? Hmm? So let me re-explain what happened here. You go to a doctor, okay, you had probability of having the disease to be 0.001. If you have any doubts, please ask, okay, 0.001. And then with this prior probability, you got yourself tested. Okay. So the final thing that happened is you tested positive. Okay. So you got yourself tested. So either you have the disease or you don't have the disease. Okay. So either way, you tested positive. You are trying to find which branch it came from. Okay, which branch? The H branch. The possibility that you actually have the
I have a
disease.
doubt.
Yes, please ask.
Sir, does all the population go for the test, or only those who are having will go?
So, this is very statistical. Okay. So when they say like 30% of India has diabetes, something like that, they really don't test every person in India. What they do is they do sampling. They take a bunch of people. Okay, they take a big enough bunch of people, not 100,000 or 200,000. They take 500 people from one area, 500 people from another area. And then they take random, like, so they'll test these 1,000 people. From them, from this 1,000, they'll randomly take some 30, 40 people and then take the average. Okay, that is actually what they do when they give you such claims. Okay, 30% of India has diabetes. They actually take it based on the values of some 40 people, 50 people. Okay, and then they'll take different batches of 40, 50, and then they'll average it out. Okay, that's what they do. Are you following? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So here it's a sample mean. Okay, it's a sample mean. This is out of your syllabus, but this is actually what happens. All right, it's a sample. So when they say this affects 0.1% of the total population, it means it's a statistic that has been there before, which says 0.1% of the total population will be affected by this or is currently affected by this. Okay. Does that clear your doubt? Does everyone go for the test like that way?
No, sir.
Okay. So again, can you ask it out? Does everybody go for the test? Huh?
Yes, sir. Does the whole population go for the test, or that 0.1% alone go for the test?
No. Like anybody can go for the test. Anybody can go for the test. But it must have turned out that so far from those who are tested, 0.1% of them are affected. But how we should see
Okay.
this, but the data given to us is 0.1% of the total population is affected. So we'll have to think of 1,000 people from which one person is affected. Okay.
Okay, sir. Got it, sir.
Okay. So from every 1,000 people, one person will be affected. That is how I want you to think. All right. So you must be surprised, right? You have only a 9% probability of actually getting the disease. How is that even working out mathematically, right? The doctor is carrying me saying 99% of those who have the disease are correctly identified, and 1% of those who don't have the disease are wrongly identified, right? Okay. So is what I told you, right? Like imagine 1,000 people. 1,000 people, of which one person has the disease. Okay, 1,000 people are there. Okay, from which one of them will have the disease. Okay, now imagine these 1,000 people go for the test, Lakshanya, just like you said. Okay, imagine these 1,000 people go for the test. What will happen?
From this, only 0.1% will be having the disease.
Yes, only 0.1, only one person from these 1,000 people, one person will be having the disease. Now, it correctly identifies 99% of those having the disease. So, if this one person goes, he will be identified positive, right?
Yes,
If the
sir.
90, okay. Now, it incorrectly identifies one person who don't have the disease. What does that mean? Suppose these 999 people went for the test. Okay. From them, 1% of 99 will be incorrectly positive, identified positive. Okay. Are you following? From
Yes,
the
sir.
999 people, 1% will be incorrectly identified as having the disease. So that means 1% of 999 people is 9.99, right? So you can imagine 10 people here, right? Who are falsely tested positive from the 999. Guys, are you getting this? Okay. The question was, what is the question asked? From those who have been identified positive, which are these 11 people, okay, how many of you actually have the disease? This is the mathematical explanation behind this. Okay, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that is why it comes out to 1 by 11. I hope you're understanding roughly. Roughly 1 by 11. This is not exact. We know where it went wrong. 99.9 was there. Okay. So we took that as 10. So that's what I'm saying. Roughly 1 by 11. Okay. Will be the answer. That is why we are getting 9%. I hope all of you got this. Okay, this is not intuitive. This is not straightforward. This requires extra thinking. All right. But if you are able to apply it in your daily life, perfect. Okay. So even I'm just learning how to apply it in my daily life. I'm not there yet fully. Okay. So guys, we are all on the same page almost right now. Okay. You know, like everything I know about Bayes theorem. All right. But the point is to start applying it in other places. Okay. This is how I apply it. And this is how I want you to apply it. Right. Apply a theory, check it back. Go back with it with probability. All right. Now, you realize, yeah, you only have 9% probability of having the disease. So you'll be like, chill, don't worry. But you're not getting much better at the same time. Okay. You're not getting much better at the same time. So you go to the doctor again. All right. And then get yourself tested at another place. Okay. You get yourself tested at another place. Now here also you test positive. Okay, you got yourself tested at another place. And here also you see that you have tested positive. Like after a week, the results come, you have tested positive. You feel better, but you have tested positive. Okay. What does that mean? What is the probability of you having the disease? Come on.
So first it was tested negative and then he was tested
No,
positive.
first it was tested positive. First it was tested positive. You'll be like, you have 9% chance only. You were scared you had 99% chance when the doctor said that. But then you did Bayes theorem and you found out you had 9% chance. Okay. So now your disease is not fully gone also. You have a doubt. Maybe it's there, maybe it's not. Because it's still 9%. There's a chance there. Okay. So now you test yourself and you find that it's positive. What is the probability that you actually have the disease? Come on. In 5 minutes, think about this. Think about this problem. Come on. I'll give you one important clue. Okay. Not important. But when I'm saying 9%, right? Your probability of having the disease is only 9%. Okay. That is to trick you. Okay. It's language to trick you. Okay. When I say the probability of you having the disease right now is only 9%, that was only to trick you because the prior probability with which you came was 0.001%. Okay. That you actually have the disease was 0.001%. Now you tested positive for the disease. Okay. It became 9%. Okay, this is your biggest clue. Right? It became 9%. This is your biggest clue. So it was 0.001 before. Now it's 9%, which is a huge increase actually because you tested positive. That's the only reason why this happened. Okay. Now, the thing is, you've been tested positive again. What's the probability you actually have the disease? Come on.
Is it 81%?
81. Lakshanya, can you run me through your calculation? What did you do here? Please.
Sir, I just guessed, sir.
Hey, you're actually pretty close to the right answer. But can you tell me your thought process? How you went through the scheme of things here?
Yes, sir. Usually when we have two cases and both are like 1/2 and 1/2, if both are true, then it will become 1/2 into 1/2, which is 1. I mean, sorry, 1/4. I mean, 1/2 plus 1/2 is 1.
Come again. What did
Sorry.
you say right now? What did you say right now? Just run me through that again. Tell me if two things happen.
Yes, sir. Then we take when you have two cases and both are possible, then it is 1/2 plus 1/2, which is equal to 1.
Okay, so suppose A happens, suppose A doesn't happen, it's 1/2 plus 1/2, which is equal to 1. Is that what you meant?
No, sir. Sir, actually, I'm telling wrong, sir. Something wrong.
That's fine, that's fine, that's fine. Don't kill yourself over it. That's what I'm saying. Okay, it's not a big deal. We all make mistakes. We make it more often than we realize. So it's fine. Okay. So, Varun, did you try the calculation? You haven't said
Sir,
anything in today's class. That's right.
no, sir, I am doing.
Right? Okay, okay. So you got any answer?
I'm doing it.
Okay. So one thing you have to notice is that probability you have the disease initially, okay, was 0.01. But now you have the updated probability you have the disease because you've already been tested positive, okay? So this will be wrong and this will be correct. Okay? Guys, this was the clue I gave you. Right, probability that you actually have the disease will be updated. Now, what are we trying to find? Probability that you have the disease given you tested positive for the second time. Right? So for this, probability you tested positive given you have the disease. Okay, so you're the same person, you go to that same test, but in a different hospital. Okay, into probability of you having the disease divided by all the ways you can test positive the second time. Okay, you can test positive given you don't have the disease into probability you don't have the disease. So probability of E2 given H, probability you test positive given you have the disease. It's the same one, 0.99. Now probability you have the disease becomes huge, 0.09. So now it's 0.99 into 0.09 plus probability you test positive given you don't have the disease into probability you don't have the disease will be what? Reverse of 0.09, which is 0.91. Okay. What does this come out to? 99 into 9 will be 990. Eight, 91, 4 decimal places divided by 0.0891 plus 4 decimal places 91. It becomes 891 by 891 plus 91. It becomes 982. 891 divided by 982 is what you get. Okay. This is roughly what? 91%. Okay. Guys, are you following?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now you better be scared. All right. Because initially you had 9% of having the disease. You should be more scared than before, since you just tested positive. That was there. Okay. But then regarding this disease, you should be scared like that way. Now, suppose you tested positive twice. That percentage has just shot up to 91%. You actually have the disease. All right. So now you better be careful. Okay. Understood? Any doubts here?
No, sir.
All right. So if you test the third time, how will the probability change? Third time also you test positive. Suppose you test positive the third time. What's your probability like?
Sir, it's 99.9%.
All right. 3 positives and you're gone. Right? All right. 99.9%. You will get a huge percentage. Yes. Okay. So, guys, I hope you're understanding the magnitude of importance here. Like, guys, I really want to talk about this. Okay. So, I will. So, how Bayes really found this out, right? So, what he did was he had an assistant with him and he had a table behind him with one ball placed somewhere on the table. Okay. There was one ball placed somewhere on the table. Okay, guys? Premise is it. So, what he'll do is he'll throw, like, he'll have a bunch of other balls with him. He'll throw a ball. Like, he won't look at the table behind. Okay. He'll just throw a ball behind. When he throws a ball, he'll land somewhere with respect to the first ball. Right? You hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So he'll land somewhere. He'll just ask his assistant, where did that ball land with respect to the first ball? What Bayes is trying to do is he's trying to figure out the location of the first ball. He doesn't know where it is. He's placed it somewhere on the table. Or he has asked the assistant to place the ball somewhere on the table, the first ball, reference ball, and then he'll keep throwing balls back. Okay. And then what he'll do is he'll ask the assistant, where did that ball land with respect to the first ball? Left, right, up, down, where? Northwest, east, south, where? So he'll keep telling him, this landed here with respect to the first ball. Then he'll throw another ball. This landed here with respect to the first ball. He'll throw next ball. He's throwing it randomly. Or with intention also, doesn't matter. Okay, he throws it. And then he writes where it landed. So what he realized is, as the assistant kept telling him, okay, this landed here, this landed here, this landed here, he could roughly estimate where the first ball was. Did you understand what I'm saying here? He'll have a better idea of where the first ball is lying with more data he collects, right? He might not know exactly where that ball is, but he can definitely make his guesses better with more data, right or not? Right or wrong?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So, did you understand what he did here? He just kept throwing balls. And look, guys, that is how you have to view life in general. Okay. Like we have, like our minds, our emotions make us, make decisions or make inferences from things. Okay. It's generally driven by more of our emotions. So here the idea is, like, no, you can't depend on the emotions like that. By emotion, you're just guessing based on your state of mind. That's just plain wrong. Okay, you collect more data, figure out where it is. So the idea is, Like he's not saying there's no reality or anything. He's just saying there is a reality. Just that we might not have the complete picture of it. But what we can definitely do is get more data and get a more accurate picture of it. Are you following? All right.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Just collect more data, like feed yourself evidence. Okay. And then make a clearer picture of it. And the best part is you can change your realities. Like suppose you're scoring low marks. You don't need to think of yourself as a person who scores low marks. No, that's wrong. Okay. All right. Because you have to study. Get the data in. See how much change happens because you studied. See how much change happens overall. Because the more you do these thought experiments, right, at some point you'll realize it's not the marks that matter. Finally, that is what you'll end up with. Okay. Like it's the learning, like the amount of times you apply it, that's all that matters finally. Okay. So it's not the marks that matter, that is separate. But what I'm saying is, please collect more data before putting yourself into a position. Okay. Okay. So that is the moral of Bayes' theorem. All right. Got this?
yes, sir.
Yeah. So yeah, now let's I wanted to speak more, but yeah, let's move on to the next chapter, which is straight lines. Yeah. Okay, straight lines, guys. What do you know about straight lines? Straight lines. What do you know? What do you know about straight lines, guys? You run it in 10th, right? So quickly tell me. We'll finish this chapter in half an hour. Come on. What is a straight line?
It has a slope.
Okay, ax plus by plus c. I don't know why I wrote one for each. Okay. So yeah, a straight line has a slope. Okay, nice. Okay, so we'll be referring to that as m from now. Okay, and m in this context is minus b by a. Why? Because I can write this in the form y equal to mx plus c. So whatever is the coefficient of x in this form will become the slope. Okay, and this is nothing but tan theta, which is the tan of the angle of inclination. Okay, we learned this format. Next, what else do we know? X by a plus y by b equal to 1. What is this form? This is the intercept form, where if the line makes intercept of a units here, okay, or this point is a comma 0, and then this point is 0 comma b, you can say that this is how the line will look. All right. Then what other form was there? You have a point. Okay, you have 2 points. 2 points are required to make a line, right? How do you find the slope here? Y2 minus y1 by x2 minus x1. So the equation will become y minus y1 by x minus x1, where x comma y is a point on the line. Will share the same slope as any other 2 points on the line. So that's the condition for the line. Like if you take any 2 points, the slope you form will be the same. So this can be rewritten as y minus y1 equal to, this is nothing but m itself, into x minus x1. This is nothing but the slope point form. You have a point x1 comma y1 and you have the slope. Okay. All right, you can find the equation of the line this way. Guys, are all these things you're familiar with?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then what else? What are the other forms here? Can you tell me? It is a normal form, right? If you have nothing to say, even I have nothing to say. Okay.
Sir, I don't know the last one you have written.
This is normal form. Like, okay, so normal form, if you have a line like this, right? And if you have, this is the line's equation you want to find. So there is something called P I draw, which is a perpendicular from the origin. Okay. P is the length of perpendicular from the origin. Okay. So P will be inclined at an angle alpha with respect to the positive x-axis. So alpha will be between 0 and 2 pi. Okay, 0 and 2 pi. 2 pi need not include. Okay. So alpha is between 0 and 2 pi. And like P is the length of the perpendicular. So with these two bits of information, we can find the line here. All right. So this is how we find the line. X into cos alpha plus y into sine alpha equal to the length of the perpendicular from the origin to this line. All right.
Yes.
Is much okay? Okay, just remember it like this. This is the normal form. Okay. Now, if a line is given to you, okay, suppose it's x1 comma y1, and we know the slope m. Okay, so I'll call that tan theta. Now I want to find a point on this line r units away on the line. Okay, r units away on this. How would I find that point? So I'll call this x0 comma y0. This is the reference point. Okay, I want to find the point x1 comma y1, which is r units away from the point x0 comma y0. So it can be here or here also, but don't get distracted by this one. So that can be taken care of with a simple plus or minus. Okay. But how do we find the point x1 comma y1? That lies on, this will come at many places, okay? You will find it useful. That's why I'm giving it off first itself. Really, they don't even teach you this. Okay. So this is pretty useful. We can use it in multiple places. So yeah, what do we do? Tell me. At a distance r units away. So first thing you have to notice is that this angle is theta. Okay, I don't think you guys have done this before, have you?
No, sir.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. It's okay. It's okay. So this, okay, I'll name these points A, B, and X. Okay. So the length AX. How would you describe the length AX? X1 minus X0. Right? The right angle triangle I'm drawing. Okay. So what is the point X? That will be given by X1 comma Y0, right? It lies on the same horizontal line. So y0 is here. This lies on this bx vertical line, which is x1. Okay. So ax is x1 minus x0. So similarly, what is bx? y1 minus y0. Okay. What about ab? This is r. And I know that this is nothing but x1 minus x0 the whole square plus y1 minus y0 the whole square. Okay. I'm building context here, guys. Now, I'm trying to find the point x1 comma y1. That is my objective. X1 comma y1 can be written as x0 plus r cos theta y0 plus r sine theta. Can you tell me why? Can you just look at it? Just look at it. X1 comma y1. X1. So I'm looking for the value of x1 basically. X1 is what? X0 is there plus this distance ax, right? Plus the distance ax, which I can represent by r into cos theta. You know, right? For a triangle here, if this is r, this will be r sine theta. This length will be r cos theta. So when I add the sum of, when I add the squares up, I get r square. Okay. So here, this becomes x naught plus r cos theta, this becomes y naught plus r sin theta. Yes or no? Got this or not?
Yes, sir.
Now, so this is how you find a point. So if you want to find the other point, just put, instead of plus, you put minus. You find the other point here, okay, b dash, which is also at a length of r units away from this point. So it is very useful. Please use this wherever you can. Okay. Now, so, but then they'll be like, sir, they'll give some slope is root 3. Sorry, some slope is root 5. How would you find cos theta and sin theta, right? That doubt will be there. Yes or no? So if they give slope as root 5, you will not fear, because slope is root 5, which means tan theta is root 5. So you construct a triangle where tan theta is root 5. Okay, opposite side by adjacent side. So what does this side become? Root of 5 root 5 square plus 1 square, which is 6. Okay, this is your triangle. So here you can say sin theta will become root 5 by root 6, and cos theta will become 1 by root 6. Or second case can happen where sin theta is minus root 5 by root 6 and cos theta is minus 1 by root 6. Are you getting this, guys? Suppose they give some value of slope to you and they ask you for a point on the line somewhere from a reference point. What do? You form a triangle with tan theta equal to root 5. Don't forget, m is tan theta. That is why I keep mentioning it. Okay, m is tan theta. So root 5 is there, 1 is there, root 6 is there. So from here you can find sin theta, the two possible cases. If m was minus root 5, what do? So you'll say sin theta is minus root 5 by root 6 and cos theta is 1 by root 6. So one of them will be negative. That's what happens. While the other case will be sin theta is plus root 5 by root 6 and cos theta is minus 1 by root 6. I hope this is clear. Okay, this part is clear. Any doubts here?
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
Right. Okay, so your CBC level of this is done, and yeah, some extra is also done here. In your CBC textbook, has anything else been covered for straight lines that you remember? Guys, has anything else been covered?
Sir, for the equations, nothing else. Only like the distance of a point from a line or only those one.
Okay, yeah. So I just skipped that because I thought you guys would know it, but I'll quickly go through it. Okay, you have a point, x1 comma y1, and you have a line, ax plus by plus c equal to 0. What is the distance of this point from this line? Just put the equation, just put the point into the equation of the line, okay? Put everything on one side, make sure the RHS is 0, and then put it here, divide by root of x is coefficient square plus y is coefficient square. This becomes the distance. Okay, distance between a point and a line. So when I say distance between a point and a line, basically what I do is I draw perpendicular from here. Okay, I draw perpendicular, then I let this perpendicular drop on this line. Okay, once this perpendicular falls on this line, what do? I find the distance between that perpendicular point, x0 comma y0, and this x1 comma y1, and then I find the distance is this way. Okay, that is what these are the steps to find the perpendicular distance. All right. Now, if you have two parallel lengths, you can find the perpendicular distance between them. What will the perpendicular distance be? So one of the lines will be a1x plus b1y plus c1 equal to 0. The other parallel line will be a1x plus b1y plus c2 equal to 0. Are you understanding? A1 and b1 should be the same. If they're parallel, what will happen? I can say that a1 by a2 will be equal to b1 by b2. Okay, if they are parallel, this condition is satisfied. You all know this from before.
Yes,
So I'm
sir.
just making sure their coefficients are the same, because then you can simply subtract their constant term C1 minus C2 divided by same thing, root of A square plus B square. All right. This much is okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, this is about concurrency. Okay, now we'll start concurrency of lines. So, three straight lines, A1x plus B1y plus C1z equal to 0. Sorry, C1 equal to 0. A2x plus B2y plus C2 equal to 0. A3x plus B3y plus C3 equal to 0. They are concurrent if this determinant A1, B1, C1, A2, B2, C2, A3, B3, C3 is also equal to 0. This is when the three lines are concurrent. Okay. Remember this? All right. Between point and line, this is between point and line and line. Done. Now, if you get area of parallelogram for given lines. Area of parallelogram for given lines. A1x plus B1y plus C1 equal to 0. The other one will be A1x plus B1y plus C2 equal to 0. Now, A2x plus B2y plus D1 equal to 0. A2x plus B2y plus D2 equal to 0. What do we have here? Two sets of parallel lines, right? They will form a parallelogram in between. Right, guys? So what will the area be? Just remember the formula here, okay? C2 minus C1 into D2 minus D1 divided by determinant of A1, A2, B1, B2. Okay, this is the area. It's not like you must remember the formula, but just identify there is a formula. Once you identify there's a formula, the chance of you remembering it is actually pretty high. So don't worry about that. Okay. So what did we do here? Just like two parallel lines, we subtracted the constant terms C2 minus C1, D2 minus D1. And here, this part, just remember, there's A1, B1, A2, B2. Just brought it into a determinant. Okay. All right.
Yes, sir.
All right. Then what do we have? Okay. I'll give you a small question. X dy plus c equals 0. Find the area of this figure. Find the area of this figure. What happens to this one? This breaks down into 4 lines, right? Ax plus by plus c, ax
Minus
plus
AX.
minus c equal to 0. So there'll be minus ax minus by plus c. That becomes ax plus by minus c equal to 0. Okay. The other one becomes ax minus by plus c equal to 0. Other becomes minus ax plus by plus c equal to 0, which becomes ax minus by minus c equal to 0. Okay. You have two bunch of lines here. Yes or no? Two bunch of parallel lines. What do we do here? First one, c1 minus c2 becomes 2c. Here, c1 minus c2 becomes 2c divided by, what do we do here? A, b, and a minus b. Got it? That's it. So on top we have 4c square, and below we have minus ab, which is minus of 2ab. But since I'm taking modulus values alone, since I'm looking at an area, this becomes 4c square by 2ab. Or, yuck, this is 2c square by ab. Yeah, much better. Okay. Guys, any doubts here?
No, sir.
Right. We have 2c square by ab here. Now, okay, next comes angle bisector. Okay. Now for that, one thing I wanted to say is a line will divide a plane into two parts. A plane means this entire screen you see is the plane. Just think about it like that. Or beyond the screen also, that's the plane. But if you draw a line is infinite, right? It'll divide the plane into two parts. Do you get that much? Okay. So if I take a point, x1 comma y1, and put it into the equation of a line, ax plus by plus c equal to 0. If I put it into the equation of the line, into the LHS here, if I get 0, what does that mean if the LHS becomes 0?
The point is on the line.
It lies on the line. Okay, lovely. Now, if it's less than 0 and greater than 0, if it's less than 0, it means it lies on some side of the line. We'll have to figure out which side, but it lies on some side of the line. Okay. If it's greater than 0, it means it lies on the other side of that line. Are you following? All right. If it's less than 0, it lies on one side of this line. If it's greater than 0, it lies on the other side of that same line. Okay. So you can easily understand if 2 points are on the same side or opposite side of the line, right? I substitute that point here. I get some sign here. I don't care about the value. Is it plus or minus? That's all I'm checking. Now I put the other point into this. What do I get? I get a value which is of the opposite sign. Then I know they are on opposite sides. Okay. If both are of the same sign, it means they are on the same side of the line. This much is clear?
Sir, can you repeat? Your voice was breaking.
Okay. Oh, all right. I'll start again. So, ax plus by plus c equal to 0 is your line. x1 comma y1 is your point. I want, okay, so you have 2 points, x1 comma y1 and x2 comma y2. Okay. So if I put the point into the line, the equation of the point value into the line, like instead of x and y, I replace it with x1 and y1. So I get ax1 plus by1 plus c. Now, if that is negative, and okay, like suppose that is of one sign, okay, it's either positive or negative, any of these. And then I take another point, x2 comma y2, and put it into this, ax2 plus by2 plus c. Okay, if I get negative, when I got the first point as negative, it means both the points are on the same side of the line. If I get it positive, when the first point was also positive, it means both the sides are on the same side of the line. Okay. If they are of opposite signs, what does it mean? Both the points are on opposite sides of that line. Okay. The value of ax1 plus by1 plus c does not matter. It's only the sign. Okay. Similarly, if ax1 plus by1 plus c was positive, while this one is negative, when the signs are opposite, you know that they are on opposite sides of that straight line. Okay. Remember this, guys? Okay. Now, equation of the angle bisector. What is an angle bisector? You have two lines here. Okay, there's an angle between them, which will be bisected. There will be an obtuse angle and an acute angle, and both are 90 degrees. Okay, both will be bisected. Okay, this is the acute bisector. This is the obtuse bisector. Okay, guys. Here the acute bisector and the obtuse bisector. So what is common for this? Like if you take any point on this, you can see that its distance from these two lines will be the same. All right. Are you getting this? If you take any point, the distance, the perpendicular distance from these two lines will be the same. So the locus of such a point, you know what locus means? The trajectory of such a point will follow its perpendicular bisectors. Okay. You have two lines given to you. Okay. Find the locus of the point,
Yes, sir.
which is at equal distance from these two lines. Find the locus of the point, which is at equal distance from these two lines. We will say that the locus will be a pair of straight lines that are perpendicular to each other. Okay. Are you following, guys? So here we can see that from any point x comma y, the perpendicular distance to the first line, which will be a1x plus b1y plus c1 equal to 0. Suppose that was the first line, divided by a1 square plus b1 square will be equal to that same distance from the second line, a2x plus b2y plus c2 divided by root of a2 square plus b2 square. So how you solve it is you basically square both the sides. And you get a quadratic in x square and y square. There can be an xy term also, it's possible. Okay, so you'll get a quadratic, that's what happens in two variables. The second degree equation in two variables is what you get. And that represents a pair of straight lines, which is coming up soon. Okay, which is a topic that's coming up soon. But did you get this much? Okay, this will show you the equation of the perpendicular bisectors. You'll get a pair of straight lines. If you can split them into two linears, you will get the bisectors separately. All right, guys. So, or what you can do is don't square it. Simply remove the positive sign. Simply remove the modulus and put a plus or minus. You will get two equations actually. Yeah, do this. What I said is a tougher method actually. The longer method. Here, what you do is to find the equation of the bisectors, simply remove the modulus, put plus or minus sign on one end. You get two values, two possibilities. Those are the two perpendicular bisectors. Got that? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So one of these is the acute angle bisector. Other is the obtuse angle bisector. Okay. One of them is acute angle bisector. Other is the obtuse angle bisector. All right. So now there's something I want you to remember. When you write this form, okay, make sure C1 and C2 are both positive. Like basically they are of the same sign. Okay, that's all that matters. Okay, but then for convenience, I'm going to say make sure the constants in the equation of the lines are positive when you put it there. So if the equation was x minus y plus 1 equal to 0 and x minus y minus 1 equal to 0, okay, x plus y minus 1 equal to 0, what you will do is you will write the first equation here like this, x minus y plus 1 equal to 0 divided by root of 1 square plus 1 square equal to mod of, what will you do here? You'll write it as minus x minus y plus 1 divided by root of minus 1 square plus minus 1 square. Are you getting this? You make sure the constant terms are positive at all costs. Okay? This is your first step. Make this positive. Then the second step is the important one. So you calculate A1, A2 plus B1, B2. Okay, so here, what is A1, A2? 1 into minus 1 plus B1, B2 is B1 is minus 1 into minus 1. Okay, so here you check the values of A1, A2 plus B1, B2. That's the idea. Okay, if A1, A2 plus B1, B2, okay, it's positive or negative. This is what I'm looking for. the acute one is taken by, and the obtuse one. Okay. So the acute one is taken by, so you'll put a plus or minus here, right? Guys, you put a plus or minus here, right? When you're trying to find out the equation of the bisectors. For acute, this will be minus. For obtuse, it will be plus. When A1, A2 plus B1, B2 is positive. Okay. But when A1, A2 plus B1, B2 is negative, for acute angle bisector, you will take the plus sign. And for obtuse angle bisector, you will take the minus sign here. All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just remember these steps to find the bisector. All you're looking for is A1, A2 plus B1, B2. What happens if it's equal to 0? It just means both the lines are perpendicular. I just got the case, right, where it's equal to 0. X minus y plus 1 and minus x minus y plus 1. So here I get that the angle is 90 degree. So there's no acute angle bisector or obtuse angle bisector. Both are 90-degree bisectors. Okay. Okay. Due to lack of time, I'm giving one homework question. For lines 4x plus 3y minus 6 equal to 0 and 5x plus 12y plus 9 equal to 0, find equation of bisector of acute angle and 2, bisector of obtuse angle 3, bisector of angle containing the origin. All right. So this is a homework question, but we don't discuss homework questions, right? Next day. So what we'll do here is I'll give you the answer beforehand. Okay, for your verification. So the acute angle bisector. I haven't written the answer. Okay, so acute angle bisector, obtuse angle bisector, you know the steps to do it. Straightforward. Make sure C is plus. What do you do here? Minus 4x minus 3y plus 6 divided by root of 4 square plus 3 square equal to root of 5x plus 12y plus 9 divided by root of 25 plus 144, which is 169. Root of that is 13. There'll be a plus or minus here, right? So I'll remove the modulus and put plus or minus. Okay. So now what am I looking for? A1, A2 plus B1, B2. What do you do here? A1, A2 is minus 20 plus B1, B2 is minus something. So this will be less than 0. Okay. A1, A2 plus B1, B2 is less than 0, which means acute is taken by plus and obtuse is taken by minus sign. Got this? Okay.
Sir, but now isn't there a condition that C1 and C2 must be greater than 0?
Yeah, that's what I did. I wrote it as minus 4x minus 3y plus 6. The question
Oh,
given to
okay,
me was
okay.
4x plus 3y
I,
minus 6. Okay. So I made this greater than 0 first. Then only, first do this. Then only take A1, A2 plus B1, B2. Otherwise, that will be wrong. Okay. Right, you'll get some other sign.
yes, sir. நான் கொஸ்டினை பார்த்த உடனே நான் வந்து தப்புன்னு நினைச்சேன்.
No problem. No problem. Then angle containing the origin. What do you do here? You're looking for the angle that contains the origin. So you understood how to find acute angle and obtuse angle, right?
Yes, sir.
So here, there's something new which I want you to learn. Okay. A1, A2 plus B1, B2 is less than 0. Then acute angle bisector contains the origin. A1, A2 plus B1, B2 greater than 0. Then obtuse angle bisector contains the origin. So, which one are we looking at? We're looking
Acute
at
angle
the
bisector.
acute angle bisector, which will contain the origin. Okay, so you put plus here. Okay, you just put plus here and you will get the answer there. Is this much okay for all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now comes foot of perpendicular and image. And image. Due to lack of time, I'm not going into the proof, but the proof is very interesting. Please look at it. Okay. It's not like it's required for a JE, but the proof is actually very interesting. All right. So find the foot of the perpendicular. So there's a point given to you, x1 comma y1, and a line here. Okay. X plus by plus c equal to 0. So how you find the foot of the perpendicular is you call that point x comma y. Okay. So x minus x1 by a equal to y minus y1 by b equal to x plus by plus c. Okay, sorry, minus of ax plus by plus c divided by root of a square plus b square. Right? Actually, there is no root here. The formula is wrong here. There is no root here. Okay. Divided by a square plus b square. Be careful there. Okay. Then image will have a similar equation here. X minus x1 by a. It's almost the same. Okay. Y minus y1 by b equal to minus 2 into ax1 plus by1 plus c. Okay, this ax1 plus by1 plus c divided by a square plus b square. All right. That's all you do to get this equation. To get the foot of perpendicular. So you will get some constant value in the third part for both sides. And then the first part will almost be constant value except for the x and y part. And that is what you need to find when you equate it to the third part individually. Okay.
Sir, I didn't understand.
No, there was nothing to understand that I taught here. What is happening here is that there is a point here, x1 comma y1. Okay. And there's a line here, ax plus by plus c equal to 0. And I am asking you to find the foot of the perpendicular. The proof is very lengthy. Okay. What you do here is, you notice that, okay, you're trying to draw a perpendicular from the point x1 comma y1 to this line, right? So the perpendicular line, any line perpendicular to ax plus by plus c can be represented as bx minus ay plus k equal to 0. K is some constant, right? You can write it like this.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this line will pass through the point x1 comma y1. So I'll get bx1 minus ay1 plus k equal to 0, or in other words, k is equal to ay1 minus bx1. Okay, k is like this. Now, the line
Yes.
which will be perpendicular will be bx1 minus ay1 plus k, which will be plus, bx
ay1 minus b.
bx minus ay plus ay1. Yeah, sorry, I got confused. Minus bx1 equal to 0. So this is the line. This is that normal line. Okay. So when I solve this line and this given line, okay, so I found the line which is perpendicular. Okay, so when I solve for both these lines, what do I get? I get the point of intersection, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So that's what I did. Or what I can do is, I have x1 comma y1. I have the perpendicular distance from this line. I'll call it P1. Okay. I taught you how to find the distance from point and line, right? So you find P1.
Yes.
And now you have the equation of this line. You have to travel P1 distance along this, right? Think of it like that. Use that to find the proof. That is best. Okay. So along this line, you travel P1 distance from the point x1 comma y1. Okay. Now to find the image, what do? You travel 2 P1 distance. 2 into P1 distance, right? Got that? It always starts with the
Yes,
same
sir,
step.
because it's a line.
Perpendicular. Find the perpendicular length, you are sorted there. Okay. So from there, you can find the rest of it. Okay. But what I would suggest is try remembering the formula. That is much easier. Okay. But do the proof once. Get the feel of it. Get the feel of what you're trying to remember. Because it's actually not tough to remember this. Right. Right. And one more thing is that for coding, there's a lot of things to remember. So be prepared to write formulas down, mark them out, and be prepared to write them down into separate sheets every day, close to every day, so that you don't forget it at all. You have to get familiar with these formulas. Okay, that's the objective. So, yeah, this for image. So this. Then comes one small concept called family of lines, which we'll finish quickly. Family of lines here is simply like, suppose you have one line L1, which is A1x, ax plus by plus c equal to 0. And you have some L2 here, which is a dash x plus b dash y plus c dash equal to 0. So you have two lines here. They meet at some point. By family of lines, so you have L1 and L2. You are trying to find any line that goes to the intersection of these two lines L1 and L2. Okay. You're trying to find the equation of any line that goes to the intersection of L1 and L2. For that, you will simply use the formula L1 plus lambda L2 equal to 0. Where lambda is a parameter. Okay. So the line becomes A plus A dash lambda into X plus B dash lambda into Y plus C dash lambda equal to 0. So this becomes the generic line. Okay. So if the slope is given, you can apply the condition to this. If they say one point is given on that line, you put that point into this and then find the correct value of lambda. You get the equation of the line. Are you following?
Yes, sir.
Right? You understood what family of lines are?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So please start remembering things. Okay. Now, the thing I want you to activate is memory. Memory power is what I want you to activate. So plan accordingly. Next session, we'll start circles. No. Next session, we'll do pair of straight lines and then circles. Okay. Pair of straight lines is an important topic. So I would suggest you read up about pair of straight lines. Okay. Pair of straight lines. Okay. So you have two lines given to you, A1x plus B1y plus C1 equal to 0 and A2x plus B2y plus C2 equal to 0. The pair of straight line equation, which is the combined equation of both of them. So it'll represent directly the pair of these straight lines. Nothing but A1x plus B1y plus C1 into A2x plus B2y plus C2 equal to 0. So when you expand this, you can see there'll be some x square term. There can be some y square term. There, why am I writing square here? Okay. There can be some xy term, which is generally written as 2hxy. There'll be some x term, which will be written as 2gx. There'll be some y term, which will be written as 2fy, plus constant term equal to 0. So this can represent a pair of straight lines. Okay. Is this much clear? It is multiplying the equation of two lines into each other. That's it. All right.
Yes, sir.
It's as simple as that. Okay. So on that note, today's class is done. We'll be starting circles in the next class. But please, we'll be starting circles, but please learn and practice problems for straight lines. Okay. That is what I expect you to do. Please find time and do this. And yeah, please read up more about Bayes' theorem as well. Okay. It's fun. But yeah, do more in your leisure time is what I would suggest. But right now, try to do something to build an understanding of Bayes' theorem. Okay. So that's about it for today's class. Thank you guys. Take care. If you have any doubts, please ask me now.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
No
you, sir.
doubt, sir. Thank you,
Sir,
sir.
Doubts? All right. Yes, 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 Varun, ask.
Sir, actually you gave the formula as L1 plus lambda L2, no, sir. Like,
Yes, yes, yes. L1 is
sir,
the first line.
actually, does it actually make a difference, like, to put it as L2 plus lambda L1?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't, because lambda is a parameter here. Okay. Yeah, I
yeah.
should have mentioned that. It doesn't matter where you put lambda. You get a different value for lambda, but the same equation you will get. Okay.
Yes, sir. Because
Right.
that was made out. Because like it's
Yes, sir.
representing some set of lines means like should it like
Correct,
should
correct,
it
correct. Your doubt was very genuine. Nice doubt. Okay. Good
okay,
there.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care.